Welcome back to Fantasy 1.0. Today we're going to talk some fantasy football. Get you ready for the 2018 season. New faces in new places. Players that have moved to different teams and how it's going to impact their fantasy value.
And yield for the apocalypse, yeah. It's the apocalypse, yeah.
All right, so I just took the important ones. So a little exercise I did here. I just basically took, I think it's five quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers. I threw a tight end in there, obviously. Just talking about who's moved and how it's going to impact their fantasy value. Let's start with Alex Smith. Alex Smith is off to the Redskins, displacing Kirk Cousins. I don't see much of a change in his value. I think this offense is more, coaching is more suited to his new, more aggressive style that we saw from him last year. So I think that Washington's got the offense. They got some pieces that I think that he's going to be able to run with. So I see a bit of a boost in his value. Kirk Cousins, I think he's going to be a man on fire in Minnesota. I think he's going to be pretty ticked off with how the Redskins treated him. And he's going to be pretty fired up. He's going to have Dalvin Cook in the backfield, who Case Keenum didn't have last year back there, at least for more than 2 games, I think it was. And then he's got Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. So he's got some great wide receivers. Great wide receivers. So I think that he's actually going to probably get an uptick in value. Also, on that note, I think those 2 wide receivers, they're both going to be trying to establish rapport. Both are very talented. So we could see Diggs' value come up or rise if he's going to be the one that's sort of, becoming the go-to guy going out of training camp. Case Keenum. So Case Keenum has moved to Denver. So finally Denver has a quarterback. So this is, I think that the change will be negligible in, him. But Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, I think they're going to have finally somebody that's going to be able to throw the ball to them. So again, I think that that's going to enhance their value going forward as well. Tyrod Taylor. So I always cheer for Tyrod. He had nobody with him in Buffalo last year. He's always running around in circles, and now he's with Cleveland. Cleveland. But they've got some interesting stuff going on with them now. So we're going to talk about them a little bit. But Carlos Hyde is there. Jarvis Landry's there. They've already got a nice base of wide receivers with Josh Gordon, amongst some other guys that I can't think of right now because I'm staring at the camera. But I think that we could see some stuff come from him. He's going to be way at the end of your draft. You could stream him most likely. But keep an eye out for him. I'm kind of rooting for him. And then lastly, Sam Bradford. So Sam Bradford's off to Arizona. I don't remember who described him as this. I think it was a guy who used to play with him with the Rams, but he's like a well-tuned sports car that breaks down a lot. So he's probably, when he's on the field, Fitzgerald's going to get a bump, and he's probably going to look great too. But he's probably going to play 8 to 10 games. So that's my take on QBs, which I'll get into on my next episode on draft strategy. Not the most important position out of the big 4, but very important position is running back. So Jerick McKinnon is off to San Francisco. He's getting paid RB1 money. I'm assuming that they're gonna be running with him as an RB1. I guess it's Joe Williams will be getting some touches as well. But McKinnon was hyped a lot from the get-go and didn't really do much. And then last year when he got thrust into that co-starting role with Latavius Murray, he looked good. So I'm not sure where he's going to land in terms of draft value, what round he's going to be projected in. But keep your eye out for him. If he's somebody you can get in like the 6th round, 7th round, maybe he's worth picking up. I don't see him producing like he did last year, but again, there's a lot to be said for Garoppolo and what he did for the Niners in the last 4 games of last season. Dion Lewis has gone to Tennessee, so a lot of people are thinking this is going to negatively impact Henry's value, who's going to be taking over as the starting running back. I don't see that as the case. I don't know. I think Lewis, I'm not going to say he has a diminished role, but I just know that even though there's no predictability as to what's going to happen with the running backs in New England, Belichick does get the most out of them. He puts them in the roles where they'll excel, and then when they're on the field, they seem to do really well. Obviously, it's the Patriots offense, but I don't see Dion Lewis just going like this into Tennessee and having the same thing happen. So I don't think that he should even really be drafted. Well, maybe in a full PPR league, middle rounds of your draft, near the end of your draft, He should be drafted. I take that back. LeGarrette Blount is off to Detroit, so there's not much competition in that backfield. You got Abdullah, which you just year after year doesn't really do anything. I didn't think Blount was going to do anything with the Eagles. He had a decent season. I mean, he's your goal line guy. He's your short yardage guy. I don't think he had a lot of value going into last year. I think he was way overhyped. This year, you know, if he's going where he was projecting last year, then don't touch him. But if he's available at the end of your draft, maybe keep your eye out for him, especially in the non-PPR leagues. I'm just throwing tight end at the end of this one because there's not much to talk about with tight end. But Jermaine Gresham is with the Packers now. So Jimmy Graham, just what I said about Jermaine Gresham, but I actually meant Jimmy Graham. So I don't think he's gonna be a lot like what he was in Seattle last year. I think he's gonna see a lot of red zone targets with Rodgers they don't like running the ball into the end zone. They like throwing it in there. Jordy Nelson's gone, so you know you could see him getting, if he stays on the field, 8 to 10 touchdowns, but he's only going to get probably 400 to 600, if that, receiving yards. So again, maybe in the non-PPR leagues, you know, he's somebody of value to keep an eye out at, but I see his value as he's probably going to be overhyped because he's going to the Packers, and they're not going to be overly using him. So that's what I got for him. Wide receiver, Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks went from the Patriots to the Rams. So people are probably thinking tons of opportunity there. I think he was overvalued with the Patriots. I think the same is going to be happening with the Rams. I guess if you'd call Sammy Watkins their long guy, their deep threat, he didn't really establish a rapport with him last year. So I don't know if that's going to happen with Brandon Cooks this year. And I think he's probably going to be overvalued. Again, there's, you know, the draft positions aren't released yet. I have no idea where I think he's going to be. So I just think he's probably going to be a little overhyped and overvalued for what he's going to do on the field. It's also always a bit of risk. When a wide receiver goes to another team, there's always a bit of risk. This is another little point for me. You're in a new offense. You got to establish a rapport with another quarterback, with an established corpus of receivers. You know, there's always risk that you're going to become a face in the crowd and sort of looked over, which leads me to Sammy Watkins going to the Chiefs. A lot of people have been talking about that, saying, oh, yeah, this is great for Sammy Watkins. And remember the year, 2014, when he went ahead of OBJ in the draft, and he was the guy in the draft for wide receivers. Well, he hasn't really done it yet. He's got the injury risk. He showed some flash on the field last year, but really wasn't the guy I thought he was going to be when I saw the Rams actually had an offense. He's going, Andy Reid is he's quirky with how he uses his pieces, and they've already got 3 mouths that they're feeding. He'll be the 4th. A lot of people are projecting him to have more production than Tyreek Hill. I think it's negligible. I think either one of them. I'm probably not going to have him on many of my teams, but yeah. So I don't think you can drop his value, but just keep it as it is. Jordy Nelson, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why you break up the bromance of Rodgers and Nelson. Apparently Rodgers is ticked off about it. I don't blame him for them letting Nelson go and not talking to him. So I don't know what he's going to do. I guess he's kind of going to be dropped into that Crabtree role. I don't know, what's happening with Amari Cooper or that offense altogether, for that matter. So Jordy Nelson, a little bit older. I'm not sure how he's going to regress on the field and also on draft charts. Again, another guy I'm not going to have a lot of my teams, dropping him in value too. Allen Robinson, hurt pretty much all last season, going from the Jags to the Bears. This is a guy you should go after. They're paying him, wide receiver 1 money. I think Trubisky's going to improve. New coaching regime is in town. Enough of Fox, in his running offense into a brick wall and not doing anything. I think it's going to be more creative. They're going to find ways to get him the ball, and that's somebody that I'm going to be actively targeting. Maybe not in the 2nd round or anything like that, but 3rd round, yeah, and we'll see again where everything pans out. Jarvis Landry, another interesting guy, good possession receiver. He's good. Well, was good for about 100 receptions with the Dolphins past few years, regardless of quarterback, because they had Smoke and Jay Cutler out there last year, and he still had a pretty good season. He was his preferred target, wide receiver. He's off to Cleveland, so great offensive line. Tyrod Taylor, not the best arm in the world, but we'll see where that goes there. He could be a bit of a safety valve, just some short yardage. So full point PPR, keep an eye out for him, depending on how he drops in draft boards for the Browns phobia that everybody has, including myself. And that's it. So I'm not talking about kickers, and I'm not talking about defenses. That's it. That's all. That's some guys you want to keep an eye out for. So stay tuned for my next episode. We're going to talk about draft strategy, different types of leagues and how to get you started and prepared for the upcoming season. Comments, suggestions on content for football, reach out to me below, comment below. reach out to me on Twitter. Feel free to like and definitely subscribe.
Put your seatbelt on.